Place in Martin is better, but still have to go.
Yeah.
We spent last weekend, family wedding. Yeah, Manhattan, but.
Yes, you can know good ones there.
Sure. Just do it up, I grew up with that stuff, it's like, okay, this is good, but.
Yeah.
She's always fun. No. All kinds of. All right. Hey, John's gonna be.
He
He's
the
a-
clicker.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah.
That's why you left him. All right. All right, welcome to the Town of Clifton Park, September 19th. Town board meeting, please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Teresa, if you call the roll.
Councilwoman Flood. Here. Councilwoman Standard.
Here.
Councilman Morelli.
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowitz. Here. Supervisor Barry.
Here, communications and announcements, beautiful weekend for Farm Fest, nice and warm. The sun was shining most of the time and farms were very busy, which was great to see. Farm Fest is just the kickoff to the season, so it's important that we get out there and support our farms as much as possible. They've added some attractions for families and people of all ages. I know there's a lot of great things for the kids this year, as well as all the things that we've become accustomed to, the baked goods, the fresh apples and everything else that and the cider donuts. And everything else that we've come to appreciate and expect from our farms. So get out there and enjoy. It looks like this coming weekend so far, the forecast is pretty good. So get out there and support our farms. Also want to let everybody know the Country Knolls Pool Liner project has begun. It looks like they had made some progress there, Dan.
Yeah, they got there today and they started tearing out the old one and we get a good look at what's underneath it. So, day one, they were right after it. Now it rained, maybe filled the pool back up a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, so far so good.
good to get that done. The trail paving came out great.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
looks nice. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty fast. He got right after it. I called him, talked to him Tuesday morning, notified him that he had the job to proceed, and he got a hold of me at late in the day Friday, said all done.
Yeah.
So I think he went from both directions at the same time. Started at each end with a machine, and they came out nice. Real good. I took a ride down today.
Yeah, and they're heavily used. I know that it'll be very, very much appreciated. So that project came out great as well. How's the fencing project coming?
They
Making
are
progress
down.
there.
They are down about halfway down the east side of the soccer field.
Hmm.
They have it all taken out. I did not see anybody on site today, but I will check in again tomorrow. All those piles of fences stacked right there. It's finished. The rest is taken down. So really quick and finish them up. Then they'll turn and head towards Bishop Ferry Road and do the north side next.
Yep.
And they're rolling along nice. It is a nice fence.
Very good. All right. Any other communications or announcements?
I have a couple. So during the Farm Fest at the tavern, they had their annual tag sale, and I just wanted to thank the volunteers that showed up. It's always a good tag sale. They bring in a lot of stuff. Last year, I was just telling my colleagues here that there was a lot of big ticket items. This year was a lot of smaller stuff, and I don't know if that coincides with
when we do the bulk waste pickup or not, but next year, maybe during August, they can put a shout out for some big ticket items, but they are still selling their t-shirts that are $15 and their cookbooks that are $5, and they are sold at the tavern. Riverview Orchards, Isabel's selling them in their Summit Parks and Recs too, if somebody wants to pick up one of the cookbooks. And all those proceeds go towards, preserving our history here in town, so. The other thing, John Shearer, our town historian, is going to do his bike tour that he does every year on October 10th at 10 a.m. It's a 12-mile ride all around, and he does historical tours. It's excellent. Helmets are required. And I believe they meet at the tavern. I think that's where he starts it. And then John Shearer, myself, and an academic administrator from Shenandoah met, and they're going to do some teacher training together, where John is going to come up with some kind of program and work on a history project that they want to incorporate into the Shen schools. So that'll be going on in November. So that's what's going on as far as history goes.
Very good. Anything else? All right, we do have a few resolutions for consideration. Teresa?
A resolution authorizing change order number 1 for a bid awarded for parking lot sealing and striping at the Clifton Common. Whereas by resolution number 206 of 2022, the town board awarded a bid to Louisi Asphalt Services for sealing and striping the parking lots at the Clifton Common. And whereas Director of Buildings, Parks and Recreation, Daniel Clemens, has submitted a request for additional funding due to a discrepancy between the map provided of the project and the bid documents, which underrepresented the amount of square footage to be covered by the contractor. And whereas the Director of Buildings, Parks and Recreation recommends accepting change order number 1 to cover the additional square footage being sealed and striped at the Clifton Common. Now therefore be it resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $4,000 from committed fund balance to the general fund Clifton Common equipment. And be it further resolved that Mr. Clemens is authorized to accept change order number 1 from Louisi Asphalt Services in the amount not to exceed $4,000 for the additional sealing and striping of the parking lots at the Clifton Common. A resolution authorizing Christ Community Reformed Church to use the town roadways for their 5K bicycle road race on October 2nd, 2022. Whereas Christ Community Reformed Church has requested the use of the town of Clifton Park roadways as specified in the attached hereto for the purpose of holding a 5K bicycle road race on Sunday, October 2nd, 2022 from 7:30 p.m. until the last participant completes the course. And whereas the event sponsors have coordinated with the town's superintendent of highways for the safe use of town roads, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes Christ Community Reformed Church to use town roadways as specified in the attached hereto October 2nd, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of holding a 5K bicycle road race. And be it further resolved that the attached insurance certificate naming the town of Clifton Park as an additional insured be retained by the superintendent of highways. And be it further resolved that this approval is expressly conditioned upon the roads not being closed, but volunteers are permitted to temporarily stop traffic at each end of the course in the event both a vehicle and a race participant arrive at the same time. A resolution supporting the abandonment and discontinuance of a portion of the Old Plank Road, whereas by petition filed with the town clerk and submitted to the highways superintendent on June 13, 2022, JTD Holdings, Banks, Land Development, and Clifton Hospitality LLC petitioned the town for the discontinuance of approximately 580 linear feet of paved roadway known as Old Plank Road, as depicted in the attached map prepared by Environmental Design Partners, dated February 24, 2022, and labeled Map 1 of 1 attached. And whereas the petition duly signed and acknowledged by authorized representatives of petitioners on April 5th, 2022, April 29th, 2022, and April 26, 2022, and included copies of filed deeds demonstrating the ownership of all real property on both sides of the paved portion of the Old Plank Road for the distance for which the petition seeks the discontinuance thereof, consistent with New York State Highway Law, Chapter 207. And whereas a record and deed review shows that the town's interest in the subject highway was acquired by user for highway purposes only. And whereas the highway superintendent has advised that the subject portion of Old Plank Road constituting 580 linear feet of paved roadway maintained by the town town highway purposes is no longer necessary and for such purpose. And whereas the petition demonstrates good cause for the discontinuance of subject roadway consistent with the New York State Highway Law, Chapters 207. And whereas the highway superintendent has not acted on the petition, now therefore be it resolved that the town board wishes the highway superintendent to take action on the petition filed on June 13th, and be it further resolved that the petition filed with the town clerk on June 13th, 2020, including its exhibits, maps, descriptions, and deeds, are hereby incorporated by reference.
Very good. Okay, it's our third meeting of the month, and just have a few resolutions on tonight. Teresa, if you could read the headings.
Resolution number 239 of 2022, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 for a bid awarded for parking lot sealing and striping at the Clifton Common.
Second. Dan?
And so there was a discrepancy there in the amount of square footage that I had listed on the bid document. When I contacted Louisiana Asphalt Services Tuesday, told them to go ahead, they got back to me and said, oh wait, we did not include any of the roadways because we don't normally seal roads. So, but the bid said all blacktop. So I had them refigure to count the roads. And then I went to the next lowest bidder because they were only $225 higher. And I asked them to send me a map of everything they included. And they did not include any of the senior center parking lot or Clifton Common Court. So I also had them give me an adjusted price to complete the job. So Louisi was still lower than the second highest one, which was Seal Coating Services, Clifton Park, and then the third bidder was even higher yet, still without even ever having to contact them. So for about 80,000 square feet more, and the extra lining is $4,000 more than what you had approved on August 1st meeting on that resolution. And the job is done and came out really nice.
Yeah, what a difference it makes. Yeah, it's great. All right, discussion.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 240 of 2022, a resolution authorizing Christ Community Reformed Church to use town roadways for their 5K bicycle roadways on October 2nd, 2022.
Second.
This is a great event by Christ Community Reformed Church coming up here on October 2nd. If anybody wants to get a little exercise. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 241 of 2022, a resolution supporting the abandonment and discontinuance of a portion of Old Plank Road.
Second.
All right, so, John, did you want to go through this?
Yeah, this is just an application that was filed in June. I looked at it in July, gave it some back and forth with the highway department about. So we had some emails with the highway department in July 13th that it was seemed complete to me. We had talked about the project last year before they embarked on this communication they had with peddlers. It's an Avely project, and they bought up some land on, I guess it's the south side, kind of it's a angular road, but the southernmost portion is where the Avely entities have acquired the land. And they've spent a fair amount of time, 6 or 8 months, tracking down corporate offices for Holiday Inn on the other side, a lesser amount of time with the peddlers' corporate holdings, and got support and ultimately signatures from those entities as well. I think it meets 207. I think it's the highway superintendent's decision and discretion. Last I heard from the highway superintendent, the road was indeed, that portion of it was indeed unnecessary for highway purposes. Last I recall, he was in favor of doing this, but for some reason hasn't wanted an order that would take action on it. I did send one over on the 7th of September, and no action yet. So I thought maybe it should come before the board and we could get some answers as to what was going on, whether there was any issues with it.
Absolutely, yeah. I submitted it as a resolution for the town board. I have a philosophical disagreement with section 207. When roads are taken over or dedicated to the town, it's a town board action. So I think the town board should have the input on it being abandoned as well. I know it says it's 580 linear feet. That's a 2-lane road, so it's 1,180 linear lane feet. So there was a little bit of some up in the air, but look, I think this is a big win for everybody who's involved. There's some stormwater apparatus that are at the end, that's at the end of this cul-de-sac, excuse me, that we would not have to be responsible for, that carries water under the New York State Northway. So if that goes on to a private entity, that's something that we don't have to look on to be weary of in the future. And it's a very steep decline. We've almost lost a few trucks down there. Fortunately, we haven't. And then once these are abandoned, we're going to work with the developer to put in a hammer turnaround for buses and emergency services and for our plows. So like I said, it's a win-win for everybody. And the only reason I wanted the board's approval is because in my mind, roads are dedicated to the town through the town board. I think they should be abandoned through the town board.
As mentioned, this road was not dedicated to the town board.
Even still, it's still a public road. It's a town asset.
And even, so you have a philosophical difference with the state statute.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you go and ask any other town how they do it. It's through a resolution through the town board. I don't see any problem.
Did you submit a resolution to the town board? Because I didn't see one.
I did just this past Tuesday.
I did not see that, and we did not see that. My office didn't see that.
You want me to send you the receipt that
No,
I
I
have?
just want you to sign the order.
I will as soon as the town board is in favor.
And since July 13th, you haven't seen fit to tell either the developer nor myself.
I've actually been in
Working
constant
with it.
contact with the developer, and I told him my desire this entire time.
That's not my understanding.
Well, that's my understanding.
And I've got some emails that show, that don't show that whatsoever. No
Tom,
philosophical
I know you want to
difference.
fight over everything, Tom, but I think it just makes more sense for all of us to be on the same page here.
So let me jump in here, because I agree, we should be on the same page, but are you suggesting or stating that you have a philosophical difference with the law? Because I'm reading 207, Dan, and it says, said town superintendent, by an order to be duly entered in the town clerk's office, direct such highway to be discontinued and abandoned for public purposes. So that's the law,
Yeah,
right?
and that section says under 1,000 feet, and that's 1,160 lane feet.
That's not the interpretation of the statute. It's linear feet.
Okay, so but still, I don't see the issue with getting the town board on board. I can't find another town that just allows the superintendent to unilaterally make this decision. I have to go in front of the town board to put up a plate tamper for auction. How can I just abandon property?
Pursuant to the statute.
Okay, but I feel more comfortable if the town board understands where I'm coming from.
So
I'm not standing in the way of it.
No, but I guess the only question, Dale, is what took 2 months to bring this out to you?
That's just how I want to do it. I'm the highway superintendent, and that's how I would like to do it.
But you didn't, okay. But, I mean, again, you,
Oh, this one.
So, Tom, the
Somebody wants to do it.
resolution doesn't have a deadline. If the issue is compelling the superintendent to sign, should there be a deadline associated with the resolution?
should say forthwith.
If the town board votes on it right now, I'll sign it right after the meeting. Be happy to. But Tom, I do thank you for putting all this together and for working with me on it, and did a very good job. And I'm far more comfortable with the town board making that decision.
Tom, is there any harm in passing a resolution?
No, that's why we put
That's
it
why
on
we
the
put it on the
agenda,
agenda.
but the harm was, 2 months delay without any reason. And, I got a call in late August from an exasperated developer who didn't have any communication back at all, that his notes were just being ignored.
That's actually not true, Tom.
But, well, some of it is.
So you're admitting that other things you're saying is not true.
there was no indication in any of the notes that I saw since July that you had an issue or philosophical issue with the way it was open.
I had asked
Just
you
wasn't
about,
happening.
I just asked about section 205 and you dismissed it. This is just what I'm comfortable with, so.
Well,
I want to say thank you very much for your help on this. You did a great job, thank you.
No, there's no, Councilwoman, there's no harm in passing the resolution, that's why we had it on the agenda.
Dan, is this, currently, I believe it was last winter, I had gone on a snowplow run with Ryan. Was this?
Yes.
This
Yes, probably
was one
when,
of the most scariest moments of my life.
yes,
being
there's
on
no
that.
lights, there's nothing
Yes.
down there, and you're driving downhill in a
And
34
I thought we were
ton.
going to be that. Is
Yeah,
that's,
that's
I
the
just
same
wanted to
spot.
make sure that we were talking about that same place.
Yep.
So, yeah, okay, thank you. And I appreciate you. I was not aware of the New York State statute or the situation, but I mean, I think it's okay to.
Yeah, there's no harm in that.
Okay,
They're gonna come, I think subsequent to this, probably when they're in the planning board, they're gonna ask for the town board to approve a quick claim deed of whatever interest we have, which is none, but I think that's gonna help them file deeds that will demonstrate the ownership and the abandonment. So there will be a chance, an opportunity for town board action. But this is a user road, so it's been there for a very, very, very long time. There was never any dedication or deeds of any kind to the town, so it's just a use.
thank you.
I'm just having trouble processing a philosophical difference with the law. Teresa, would you be able to notify the board when this has been signed and received in your office? Thank you.
Hey, Tony, I just said that I was gonna sign it after the board after it was passed.
I
And it's not,
heard
it's
you
not, it's not
said-
the law itself, it's just,
No, it's a law, 207, highway superintendent.
thank you, Tony, I understand that.
Okay.
It's the practice of 207.
But we don't get to have philosophical differences with law as appointed officials or elected officials. We just don't.
Then I guess you misunderstood me. No, I was hoping,
I heard what you said.
I was hoping to go through 205, not 207.
We don't get to choose what applies.
We
So-
had talked about.
We do get to choose what applies.
We had talked about which procedure to use.
Right.
This was the simplest, because it was a one-step process.
And that's where the philosophical difference exists, is the process which we took. I wanted to involve the town board. I wanted to have your input, Tony.
I understand, I want to follow the law.
Thanks.
All right, well, that's why the resolution was brought forward by me to move this process along, hopefully. And I guess it's had the desired effect. All right, if there's no other discussion, Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Stanberg?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes,
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. All right, we will go to, is there any other business to come before the board? All right, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. We'll ask that you come forward. State your name and address for the record, and please give me 5 minutes or less. Any takers? Sir? Did you? Sir? Okay. Hi, how are you?
Hello. My
Doesn't
name,
hurt to ask, right?
hi, my name is Mary Ann Stanton. I live at 31 Dorsman Drive in Clifton Park. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to address the town board this evening regarding the matter. I know I have 5 minutes, which is why I'm reading.
Sure, yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
regarding a matter that is currently before the zoning board of appeals regarding a proposed cell tower at 36 Boyack Road. I, along with several members of our neighborhood, our community, we've attended the meetings before the zoning board, and we've listened to the presentation by Verizon's representative. I believe the attorney's name is David Brennan. You might all know him. I don't know. Along with applications for not 1, not 2, but 3 variances necessary for this project to proceed. What is being proposed is a 110-foot tall cell tower, which will have an additional 4-foot lightning rod for a total of 114 feet. Verizon claims there is a service need proof of which we in the community, we're not convinced that they've adequately provided. The height of this tower will really be much taller than the treetops and create an eyesore for all living in our neighborhood. Unfortunately, apparently back in February, the Board of Directors for the Clifton Park Water Authority, in a 3-4 and 2 abstain vote, approved lease terms between Clifton Park Water Authority and Verizon. With the lease approval in hand, Verizon is now attempting to secure the necessary variances to begin construction. I'm here tonight to express the community's passionate opposition to this tower. Among the many distressing features of Verizon's proposal, one that stands out is the fact that this structure is not in keeping with the residential character of our community. I have with me, and I'd like to present this to you, to Mr. Barrett, and then maybe you can pass it along. A petition that is signed by at least 80 plus people from our neighborhood, basically in opposition to the tower. Many of the 2 meetings that we've attended before the zoning board of appeals, we had a big turnout from the community. I'm only here tonight because it occurred to me as we were sitting through that meeting that we'd never actually come before the board itself. So we wanted to just, I came tonight on very short notice to everybody. They're not aware of it, but I have their permission to share the petition. And if you want them to come, we'll have them come on down. So, so basically I'm here as a representative with the petition. Okay, hold on. Okay. We have town codes and a variance process, hopefully for the preservation of the character of our community. And this tower is not in keeping with the character of our community. We realize that the town of Clifton Park has previously been sued and lost to Verizon regarding this very issue a few years ago regarding the Moe Road Tower. There are differences, however, between this location, meaning Boyack Road, and the other one on Moe. Specifically, Verizon was able to clearly demonstrate in their lawsuit that cell service needs were not being met. We respectfully request, if it hasn't already, that the board examine what has been provided by Verizon with respect to cell service needs, as we as a community are not aware of there being any service dead spots, interruption, etc. Anecdotally, many of the neighbors talking with each other, do you have service? Are you having a problem with your internet? Blah, blah, blah. Nobody's having a problem. So we're not convinced that, I gotta hurry up. We're not convinced that's true. Okay, there are, also in the other case, there was no alternative location available to provide cell service, such as the case at 36 Boyack, where there is an existing water tower, which currently has AT&T apparatus on it, which required no variances to become attached.
9 seconds.
Excuse me?
9 seconds.
Okay. We propose Verizon consider doing the same as an alternative. When a town has been sued and loses, a precedent is seemingly set. I am here to say we must not allow the behemoth organization like Verizon to stop us from fighting for what is right for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When the application like this is submitted, we have a consultant, an expert in the field that reviews the application for its veracity, and that's paid for by the applicant. I can't tell you what the results of that study was. I can follow up with you and let you know. Was that discussed at the meeting?
He not really.
Okay.
It was brought up, but it wasn't really. That's why we're not convinced that they demonstrated that there was a need.
Because they do need to demonstrate,
Yes.
and it has to be valid, obviously. And if they can demonstrate it, it places them in a very strong position.
I know.
through the Federal Communications Commission and laws governing cell towers.
But there's an alternative regarding the tower, that they might be able to co-locate on the water tower. I'm sorry, the water tower.
Yeah.
Like AT&T did without there being any, issue.
Right.
But to put a, 114-foot tower in a residential neighborhood, this is, we'll fight this and maybe we'll lose, and then they'll go to the next little town, little neighborhood in Clifton Park, and the next one, and the next, where does it stop?
Well, there's no doubt that cell towers for many, many years have been very controversial in Clifton Park as well as everywhere else. And you're seeing the same thing play out as new technologies come on board. The green energy projects, for instance, is another frontier in those areas. Yeah, so I'd have to see what the result of that review was. They would be in a very strong position if they are able to prove that they need the service, that they need the additional to cover the service area. And obviously, there's ways that we can work with them, like we did on Mo Road. Even though we weren't successful, for many of the reasons you described, there were some mitigants that we were able to get into place by working with them. The same might be true here if it indeed does go forward. But I can follow up with you on that part of it.
Thank you.
John?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, I got 2 points. 2 points.
Yep.
Teresa, is it okay if after the meeting you can meet and I'll sign that and you can
Yes,
notarize it?
absolutely.
Perfect.
Do that.
And also, Teresa, if I can send you an email tomorrow, it's an email from Meg saying thank you for submitting a resolution authorizing the superintendent of highways to sign an order, blah, 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 blah. So I just want to make sure that the minutes are aware that what Tom said is incorrect. Thanks.
That'd be news to me.
All right. I'll second that.
Councilwoman Flood? Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowa?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes.
What's next? As far as